If you made it this far, scan the code and join our life-changing community. Your one mindset shift away from the best decision of your life.
Everyone is doing life for the very first time. When you look at all 8 billion people on the face of this earth currently, every single person is doing life for the very first time. Of course we're gonna make mistakes. Of course you're gonna fail. Of course you're gonna stay in relationships past their expiration dates and all of those things. Of course you're gonna doubt yourself from time to time. Of course you're not gonna know how to use this quantum computer that we call our brain because we didn't get an instruction manual to this thing called life. There was no blueprint available to you when you showed up, right? And so when you start thinking from that perspective, you have to give yourself grace. You can't keep punishing yourself for all of the mistakes that you made in all of your yesterdays. You can't keep hanging on to yesterday's version of you and punishing yourself about decisions that you should have made that should have been different, or things, I wish I had done this and I wish I had done that. Everyone is doing life for the very first time. We don't have it all figured out. People are in the process of discovering who they are. Some people are on a spiritual journey. Some people are on the practice team, but everyone is doing life for the very first time. Be gentle with yourself. Be kind with yourself. Be compassionate and understanding when it comes to you. You are doing the best that you can based upon what information you had access to when you arrived. Had you had access to better information, you would have made better decisions. But we're walking around and we're listening to everyone else and we're following other people and different things like that, even though they don't know any more than you do. Right? And so when you look at people, that's why you should never place people on pedestals and all of these things above you, because everyone is doing life for the very first time. In the same way that you should give yourself some grace, give that to other people as well. But you also let people know, and you say this with your whole chest, you also let people know, listen, I'm doing life for the very first time. I'm going to make mistakes. I'm going to fail. I'm going to probably place expectations or not live up to the expectations that you place on me. That's what life is. And that's how you raise that person's awareness in that moment. You let them know, listen, I'm doing life for the first time, man. I'm doing the best that I can with what I know. And you have to be able to give yourself that grace and love yourself in that moment to be able to say, I'm telling you God's truth right now. You're doing life for the very first time. And the last time I checked, you're doing a pretty good job. You're still here. Look at all of the things that you've gone through. Look at all of the failed relationships and the mistakes and the heartbreak and the setbacks and the obstacles and the roadblocks and the trauma and the chaos and the drama and everything that you've had to endure just to be where you are in this moment. I can make the argument you're doing a damn good job. You may not be where you want to be, but you're not where you used to be either. Give yourself some grace. We're so hard on ourselves because you don't have life figured out. You are exactly where you need to be in this moment for the transformation to happen. You are exactly where you need to be. What's hurting you is that you think you should be further than you are right now. What's hurting you is the story that you're telling yourself that you should be more successful and you should be wealthier than you are right now and you should have this and you should have that. That's where your suffering is coming from. It's coming from the story that you're creating about where you think you should be versus where you actually are. That's what's hurting you. Reality is not hurting you. Society is not hurting you. God is not hurting you. No one's hurting you but the story that you create about where you think you should be, what you think you should have, the career you think you should have, the body you think you should have. That's what's hurting you. You're living out of some story versus living out of the reality of what's happening in your world right now. That's the only thing that matters, is what's happening in your reality in this moment. Not where you should be, not what shouldn't have happened, not this person shouldn't have done this to you. No, stop living out of the story. The story is what's hurting you, not reality is hurting you. God's not punishing, your story is. Well, let me qualify that, because your emotions live in the story that you tell yourself about what you think should be, about where you think you should be, about what you think you should have compared to what someone else has. That's what's hurting you. More than any person that you have ever called an enemy in your life, it's the story that you create. You create stories about reality. Every time that something happens to you, you create a story and you don't even realize that you're doing it. And when you create that story about what's happening with the traffic, or that promotion that you didn't get, or what someone said to you, or whatever the case may be, everything outside of you is powerless. Things only have the power that you give them based upon the story that you create about what's happening in your reality. It is humanly impossible for you to experience a negative feeling without first telling yourself a story about the situation. Try it right now if you think I'm lying. Try to become angry right now without the story. No story, no stress. No story, no depression. No story, no unhappiness. You are the narrator of your life, and you're producing all of your negative feelings based upon the story that you keep telling yourself about what's happening with your circumstances, what happened in all of your yesterdays, what's happening with your kids and your relationship and your job and all of those things. Stop telling stories that don't serve you. That's mastery. No story, no stress. No story, no depression. No story, no unhappiness. You have the power right now to stop telling yourself stories that work against you versus telling yourself stories that make you feel empowered. All of the power lives in you, but your negative feelings come through the story. The emotions live in the story, not in reality, in the story that you create about reality. Try it right now. I promise you, there's not a single negative feeling that you can experience without creating a story first about that experience. You've just been misusing your mind. You've turned your mind into your weakness and not your weapon. Bottom line. That's what self-awareness is going to teach you. I don't tell myself stories that don't serve me. Why would I do that? Why would I punish me? Why would I punish me about something that I don't even have the power or the ability to control? No, I tell myself stories about how amazing I am. I tell myself stories about how powerful I am. I tell myself stories about who I'm becoming, not who I used to be. I tell myself stories about whatever it is that's happening in my reality that I want to change, about me hitting the gym, or me going to do this, or me building this business, or me building this company. I tell myself stories that serve me. That's it. That's all. That's it. That's all. The moment that you arrive at a situation that may not be favorable to you, you say this to yourself: do not add a story to this situation. What you have to understand is that your brain will follow whatever command you give it. But when you lack self-awareness, you don't know you have that power. So you allow your brain to create the story. When your brain creates the story, it unlocks the emotion. When it unlocks the emotion, now your vibrational frequency comes down, and now you become a reflection of the situation that you don't want. You become a reflection of the anger. You become a reflection of your frustration. You become a reflection of the depression. Why? Because the depression is connected to the situation, right? That's what it's connected to. But if I don't tell myself a story, I can't experience the depression. I can't experience the negative feelings if I don't create the story. I got to create the story, which means that I am the problem in my life, not the situation, not my circumstances, just me. Because I've got this PhD coach, but I don't know how to use my mind. I've got this MD coach, but I don't know how to use my mind. I've got a master's degree coach, but I don't know how to use my mind. Your degree taught you how to record information. It taught you how to receive information. Self-awareness is not information. It's not knowledge. It's not wisdom. It's not all of your theories and philosophies and all of these other things that you live by. It's not your level of education. It is spiritual intelligence at the highest level. Nothing to do with your degrees. That's the problem. Most people think that you got all of these degrees and certifications, that you're self-aware. No, you're more knowledgeable. It has nothing to do with self-awareness. I coach doctors and lawyers and some of the most powerful people on the planet. They are not self-aware. I coach pastors and preachers and all of these other people. They are not self-aware. Zero self-awareness. That's what's scary, and they're leading people. They're in leadership positions. Leadership positions, no awareness. Imagine that. A leadership position and no awareness. A leadership position and there's no awareness. So how can you take me to where you've never been yourself? I'm just asking. The number one indicator, I said number one, the number one indicator that someone is not self-aware is the fact that they'll try to project something negative onto you. Number one, that's the number one indicator. That's the first thing you look for. The number one indicator that a person is lacking self-awareness in that moment is that they're going to try to project the war that's going on within themselves onto you. Their anger onto you. Their frustration onto you. Their unhappiness onto you. Their rage onto you. It's number one. The same way when you're driving down the freeway. When you're driving down the freeway, and there's all of these barricades and flashing lights and all of those things. And the barricades and flashing lights are saying, road closed. That's what it says. The barricades say, road closed. This off-ramp you can no longer take. There's a reason for the barricades. There's a reason for all of the flashing lights. Because if you go around that barricade, you're in trouble. But that's what we do when it comes to people. Their anger is the barricade. Their frustration is the barricade. Their rage and all of those things like that, that's the barricade. That's the flashing light that says, road closed. I'm under construction here. I'm not my highest and best self. If you come near me, I'm going to project what I am onto you. But no, coach, I'm a man of principle. No, coach, I don't allow people to disrespect me. No, you a fool. Because what you're teaching me in that moment is you're getting ready to become a reflection of what you react to. You're getting ready to become a reflection of what you're responding to in that moment. That's what you're going to be. You're not going to get ready to transform the way that this person thinks and turn this person into unconditional love in that moment. You're getting ready to become a reflection of the very thing that you're rejecting in that moment. That's all you're going to do, which means you have zero awareness as well. Period. No, coach, I'm a man of prayer. I don't let people disrespect me. No, you're a fool. Tell me about no principle. You become what you react to. Period. Again, the number one indicator that a person is not self-aware is the fact that they'll try and project something negative onto you. In that moment, walk away because the person is a liability, not an asset to you. Period. There's nothing to explain. There's nothing to talk about. You don't need to prove a point. It's not the time. They've got the flashing lights on. They got the roll close sign going on. You trying to go around the barricade to prove your point to somebody because your ego is involved. That's how I know you lack self-awareness, because your ego is driving the car to who you are. You went around all of the barricades. You see this person's the emotional state of being and where they're at emotionally, and you still needed to prove your point. No, you lack awareness in that moment. You are not your highest and best self in that moment. You are disconnected from source energy in that moment. You are a reflection of your programming and conditioning in that moment. There's no power in you. The power was in your ability to walk away when the signs gave, when you had all of the signs that the road was closed. The road was closed. There's nothing to convince. There's nothing to prove. You never allow your I to argue with someone else's me. Are you kidding me right now? I said you never allow your I to argue with someone else's me. That's the most disrespectful thing you can do to you. Damn what they're talking about. You never allow your I to argue with someone else's me. And if you don't know what your I is your spiritual essence. Your I is the version of you that God created. Your I is source energy. Your I is who you really are underneath all of the labels that you carry, underneath the versions of yourself that you have created so that you could sell some version of you to the world. That's your I. Your I is the witness. It's never been wounded. It's never been hurt. It's never been touched. It's never been disrespected. It's never been lied to. It's never been abused or in any type of way. That's what your I is. That's the version of me that I operate out of, my I. Your me is your persona. Your me is your ego. Your me is your reputation. Your me is the version of yourself that you created so that you could fit into society and so that people would appreciate you and they would respect you and they would see you. Your me is the version of you that's always trying to prove your worth to someone, and you want people to think that you're successful and all of these other things. That's your me. So when you're dealing with that person, you're arguing with that person and they're operating out of their me. Self-awareness transforms you into the I. So when a fully self-aware person would never sit and argue with someone else that's operating out of their me, they would just never do it. They would never do it. It would never happen. It would never happen. Ever. Ever. Not like maybe one day, never. It would never happen. The same way that you would never go, I would hope that you would never take that off-ramp when that off-ramp is telling you road closed, there's 80 barricades out there, there's lights, helicopters going off, you still try to get off the freeway. There's nothing to prove here. This person is in pain. Speaking a language that they don't even understand. In fact, there's nothing to understand. You understand what they don't understand. You can meet that person where they are, but they can never meet you where you are. That's why God expects you to be the bigger person in that situation, because that person doesn't understand what you already know. You're looking at that person because they're a reflection of who you used to be. Come on, you didn't even catch that. You didn't even catch that. The person is a reflection of who you used to be, not who you are in this moment, who you used to be. They're reflecting back. They're showing you just how much you've grown. And you cancel out all of that the moment that you respond to that. They're showing you who you used to be, because the version of you that you used to be would have got into it with the person. You know it and I know it. Does that make sense? I'm telling you, the baddest thing walking. I keep telling you that. You the baddest thing walking. I'm telling you, baddest, I said. It's not a play on words. We ain't got time to be playing. You the baddest thing walking. I said the baddest. Mean that with everything I got in me. But that's not on that. Again, never allow your eye to argue with someone else's meat, ever. That's the most disrespectful thing that you can do to you. It's not about the person. Never allow your eye to argue with someone else's meat. That's the equivalent. That's the equivalent. If you driving down the freeway in a Rolls Royce, you pull off to go get some gas. You got a $500,000 Rolls Royce. You pull off to go get some gas. You see a person that you went to high school with. They was your best friend in high school, but you haven't seen this person in years. And they tell you, let's trade cars for a day. They're driving around in a Honda Accord, you in the Rolls Royce. They tell you, let's trade cars for a day. That's a bad trade. You getting ready to jump out of this $500,000 Rolls Royce to jump into a $15,000 Honda Accord. That's a bad trade. What you talking about? You getting ready to trade. They're the only ones benefiting in that moment. So when you start encountering people in life, you are the Rolls Royce for your life. When you start encountering all of these Honda Accord caliber people, they're not where you are mentally. They're not where you are spiritually. They're not where you are emotionally. What you talking about? You getting ready to trade with this person? You getting ready to become a reflection of the Honda Accord? That's what you're telling me? You going from Rolls Royce level to Honda Accord level? That's what you're saying? I'm just asking. That's literally like the person in the Rolls Royce trying to prove his worth to the person in the Honda Accord. You don't see how foolish that looks? Just really look and think about what I'm saying. Think about how foolish I would look. I'm sitting here in the Rolls Royce, you in the Honda Accord, and I'm trying to prove my value to you. Really? All right, let's move on. That's disrespectful. It's disrespectful. Even the Rolls Royce will be like, man, come on, man. You got to step your game up, man. I let you have access to me, but you got to step your game up, big dog. Let me say this. So we're moving on from that. I think everybody got the point there. We're moving on from that. Because we got more important things we need to cover. The only happiness you will ever find in your relationships is the happiness that you brought there. I said the only happiness that you will ever find in all of your relationships is the happiness that you brought there. If you didn't bring happiness, don't expect to find it. If you didn't bring love, don't expect to find it. If you didn't bring joy and peace, don't expect to find it. What you will find is what you brought. You won't find what's missing. You will only find what you bring. Think about what I'm saying. If you think about what I'm saying, you'll understand. The only happiness that you will ever find in your relationships is the happiness that you brought there. And if you didn't bring any happiness, that's probably why you're unhappy in this moment with your relationship. That's why you're unhappy with the job. You only find what you bring in life. That's how reality works. That's why self-awareness is so important, because you'll understand that. You're only going to find what you bring. Think about what I'm saying. Listen with your spiritual mind, not with your programming and conditioning. Listen with your spiritual mind and not with your triggers. What you give the present moment, it will give you back. But if I didn't bring anything, I can't expect anything. So let's say I'm getting ready to go camping, right? I'm getting ready to go camping. Let me tell you how reality works. I'm getting ready to go camping. And where I'm going camping is in some remote area. There's nothing out there. Beautiful scenery. But there's no stores, there's no supermarkets, there's nothing. And I forgot to pack my toothbrush and toothpaste. I forgot. I practiced everything else, but I forgot about that. When I get out to the middle of the forest, I'm not going to find a toothbrush and toothpaste. I didn't bring it, so it's not there. I can look under all of the rocks. I can look behind the trees. I can do all of those things. I will never find it because I didn't bring it. Think about your relationships like that. You will only find what you bring. If you didn't bring it, don't expect to find it. Because happiness will never be anywhere outside of you. It's always where you are. So if it wasn't at your start point, it won't be at your finish line either. If love wasn't at the start point, it won't be at the, I can qualify that. Think about a person that's sitting in the room and they're upset or they're frustrated or they're unhappy. It doesn't matter where you take that person in that moment. Happiness or unhappiness is in them. Anger is in them. Depression is in them. You can take them to the party. You can take them to the pool. You can take them whatever. But love wasn't in them. Happiness wasn't in them. And they won't find it when they get to this other location. No matter what you say, no matter what you do in that moment, they were operating out of a different vibrational frequency in that moment. That's what they were. So in that moment, they were unhappy. They were sad. They were whatever the case may be. You can change the location all you want. It's not going to change what they're feeling internally. Does that make sense? Again, everything is predicated on what you bring. What are you bringing? Not what you're looking for. What are you bringing? So this is important. This is the most important part of the live right here. What I'm getting ready to say right now. Most important, most important, most important. I need you to listen. I need you just for a moment, just to listen with your spiritual mind, right? Set your programming and conditioning down for just a second. Set your ego and your pride down for just a second. You can pick it back up in a minute, but just set everything down for a minute. And for a moment, I just need you to think about you. I need you to be the most selfish person in the world right now because I just need you to think about you, which is a beautiful thing because most of us don't do that. Just think about you for just a moment. Block everyone else out of your mind because if you don't, you won't hear this message. And some of you guys, somebody on this live right now needs to hear this message. God will isolate you to save you. I want you to think about that. God will isolate you to save you from you. Because the version of yourself that you were was the complete opposite of the version of yourself that He created you to be. I said the version of yourself that you were was the complete opposite of the version of you that He created you to be. And you were always powerful. You were always influential. But you were misusing the gift. You were misusing the talent. You were misusing all of these beautiful qualities, traits, and attributes that He had given you. You were misusing it at the time. And you know that. Be honest with yourself right now. You don't have to be honest with me. You don't owe me that. I just need you to sit with that with you. And again, you were always very powerful. You were influential, but you were using the power that He gave you in the wrong way. So he put you in a state of isolation so that you can outgrow the version of yourself that you had become. That's why he did it. He put you in a state of isolation so that you could outgrow the version of yourself that you had become. And you began to outgrow everything around you to the point where nothing would look familiar anymore. That's how much you started to grow. You started to see the people for who they were. You started to see the mistakes you were making. You started to see certain things. You were outgrowing that version of you. And you were seeing just how much people were draining you and taking from you and all of these other things. You started to see that. So much so that the people that you were around and all of those things, they weren't even familiar vibrationally and energetically. You were no longer a connection or a match for those people. But you would have never saw that had he not taken you and putting you in that place of isolation. You'd have never seen it because you were too busy being in the water to step outside of it. And your anointing is so important that it has to be guarded. I said your anointing is so important and so powerful that it has to be guarded. That's why he did it. Because your anointing is too powerful. So he had to remove you. And you're getting to the point where you can be in a room filled with people and still feel alone. People's company just doesn't move the needle like that for you. It's not that you're better and they're worse or anything like that. It has nothing to do with better or worse. It's that where you operate from vibrationally, the gift that's in you, it hovers above the people that you're around. The people that you're around, you're not impressed by that anymore. You're not moved by that. You've grown, you've evolved, you've elevated to such a degree to where going to parties and going to the club and going to all of the things that you used to love doing, the conversations you used to entertain for hours on end and all of that no longer move you. You have nothing to prove there. It's like your work is finished there. That version of you is gone. God won't let you be familiar with people because your gift is too powerful. That part I need you to catch. I said, God will not allow you to become familiar with all of these people because your gift is too powerful. I'm telling you now. He has a perimeter fence around you. In case you don't know it, can you see the perimeter fence? No, you can't, but it's there. There are certain people that he's going to make sure you miss because your anointing is too powerful. The gift that you carry is too powerful. He did not create you for everyone else. He created you for him. Let's never lose sight of that. It's not about them. It was never about them and they and all of that. That's your programmed mind thinking that. Again, God won't let you be familiar with people because your gift is too powerful. So you have to get used to walking alone. You have to get used to walking alone. Even in your relationship, some of you guys still feel alone. Even in your current relationship right now, you still feel alone. In awareness, the word alone is comprised of two words. In awareness, all one. You are connected. It's all one. You are source energy. You're all one. You are the divine in human form. You're all one. Consciousness, you're all one. You're all one. You're never alone. The word alone in awareness, again, it's comprised of two words. All one. There is no alone. You're not alone. That's a thought that you're entertaining in that moment that makes you feel disconnected. The moment that you become self-aware, you'll understand that I'm never alone. I am consciousness. I am the divine in human form. I am connected to the Creator. I do have a purpose in life. I am becoming the most powerful and greatest version of myself. I am that asset. I am the experience. I am the love that I have been seeking. I am the happiness. I am the joy. I am the destination. I am the goal. I am the path. I am the light. I am the blessing. I am the answer. I am the cure. I am. Period. Because that's what happens when you become self-aware. When you become self-aware, you become the medicine. You become the answer. You become the blessing. You become the solution. You become the cure to all of the people that you are an energetic match to, right? To all of the people that were once where you used to be before you started that journey, right? The version of you that you were before you ever started that journey, those are the people that you're going to attract into your life. You won't attract people that are an energetic match to me. Only I will attract people that walk that path and that move through life the way that I did. But you will attract people into your life that have a similar background. That's why they're going to connect with you. They're going to resonate with you because because that person is a reflection of who you used to be. And you're going to give them all of the steps and all of the blueprints. And that's how people become unlocked. That's how you're becoming unlocked. So one more time, God will isolate you to save you because the version of yourself that you were was the complete opposite of the version of yourself that He created you to be. And you were always very powerful and influential. You were always that person, but you were just utilizing that gift and that skill and that ability that you have in the wrong direction. You were going 100 miles an hour in the wrong direction. I can tell you that personally. I was going 100 miles an hour in the wrong direction. Always been powerful, always been influential, always been all of these things, but I was moving in the wrong direction. And that's fine. Because again, like I said, life doesn't come with an instruction manual. We're all doing life for the very first time. Every single person in this chat room right now was all doing life for the very first time. All of us. So we're going to make mistakes. We're going to fail. We're going to follow people that we shouldn't be following and all of these other things like that. You're going to make the mistakes, man. You got to give yourself some grace. I did that. It's when He comes and taps you on that shoulder and says it's time to go. That's when you know. So He put you in a state of isolation so that you could outgrow the version of yourself that you had become. That's why you got placed in a state of isolation so that you could outgrow who you used to be. And you could start the process of transforming into who He ultimately wants you to be for Him. One more time, He created you for Him, not for them. That's a powerful place to be in when you get there mentally, when you understand that He created you for Him, not for them. I don't care who your them is. He created you for Him. People are lucky to have access to you, and you have failed them if you don't make that abundantly clear. I said people are lucky to have access to you, and you have failed them if you don't make that abundantly clear. No more allowing people to show you twice what they've already shown you once. We don't have time for that. No more allowing people to fumble you and then come back with all of the I'm sorry's and I'll never do it again. Now, you don't want to hear that because the version of them that gave them the ability to do that in the beginning still lives in their mind. Don't ever lose sight of that. Don't ever lose sight of that. The version of them that gave them the ability, people don't fumble what they value. Don't ever forget that. People do not fumble what they value. People fumble what they don't value. So when you allowing this person to show you twice what they've already shown you once, understand that in that moment, the version of them that did whatever it is they did still lives in their mind. Still lives in their mind. So if this person didn't have brain surgery and have that version of them removed, what's going to happen when something triggers that person to become that version of themselves again? Only time you know a person, the only thing you know about people is who they are in your presence. You don't know who they are in your absence. Let me say that one more time. That should scare you or ignite you. The only thing you know about people is who they are in your presence. Inside of every person you know, there's a version of them that you don't know. It's the version of them that you don't know that's the biggest problem in your life. And you don't even know it's a problem right now. Because that version of them only emerges when you're not around. You got to understand the 99 versus the 1. See, this is awareness 101 right here. The 99 versus the 1 is simple. A person will be comfortable telling you 99% about everything that's going on in their world. They're going to tell you the whole 99. It's the 1% that they don't tell you that causes the relationship to be destroyed. It's the 1 versus the 99. Now, a mathematician would tell you that 1 can never be greater than 99, but in awareness it is, because it's what they didn't tell you, which is where all of the power lives. Whatever they're telling you in that moment is what they're comfortable telling you. It's what you don't tell me that hurts me. Not what you told me. I don't even want to hear about what you told me. It's what you withheld from me. Because whatever you didn't tell me was powerful. Whatever you didn't tell me, you knew in that moment would have shifted my whole perception of you. That's why you didn't tell me. And here's what's crazy. You'll meet that 1%. Yeah, you're going to meet the 1%, but you're going to meet the 1% after you fall in love with the person. That's when the 1% emerges. Once they already know you've fallen in love, here comes that 1%. You like, wait, where did all of this come from? 1 versus the 99 is powerful. Understand that when you're in contact, when you come in contact with a person for the very first time, that whatever it is they're telling you, it's only the 99. It's that 1% that they did not tell you, the significant other that they're still in love with that they never told you about, the divorce that they're going through in that moment, even though they're telling you that they're single. You know, the fact that they've got some kid or whatever the case may be on the other side of town, whatever it is that's going on, the fact that they're telling you about their career and all of these other things like that, even though they're between jobs in that moment. It's the 1% that they don't tell you that would shift your whole perception of that person. That's why they don't tell you. And they know about that. I'm telling you, the 1% versus the 99 is powerful. That should scare you or ignite you. That's why I said you got to be careful, man, adding all these people to your life. Especially if you're on that journey, on that spiritual awakening journey, man, you got to be careful with that. Super careful with that. Super careful with that. Super careful with that. Let me say this. The pain you're avoiding is the entry fee to the life you want. You got to tell me you know that. I said the pain you're avoiding is the entry fee to the life you want. Nobody ever tells us that. It is. It's the entry fee. Because your lowest point is the doorway to your highest self. I said your lowest point is the doorway to your highest self. It's the suffering that leads you to awareness. It's the suffering that leads you to the transformation. It's the suffering that leads you everywhere. It's not coming from all of the beautiful moments in your life. It's coming from all of the ugly. All of the ugly is what got you here to this live right now. Not your trips to Disneyland, not how many times you went to the barbecue, not all of the pool parties and all of that wouldn't have brought you here. It's all of the ugly that you've experienced that brought you to this moment. And in your mind, let me tell you what you're thinking if this is your first time on this live. I just stumbled up on this live. I just was scrolling on the live and I fell into your live stream, coach. This was the very first time. Now, you didn't fall into anything. You were called here because there's something that's supposed to happen with your life. I don't know what it is, but there's a calling on your life and you were sent here. You think it happened by coincidence. The thought didn't come from you. We're not going to talk about that. The thought never came from you. Your thoughts don't come from you. They come from something outside of you. You've never had a single thought that comes from you. Your thinking does come from you. Your thoughts, no. The thought doesn't come from you. The universe gave you the thought. God gave you the thought. Reality gave you the thought. Consciousness gave you the thought. You place any source energy, place any label you want on it. The thought doesn't come from you. It's alignment. Let me say that one more time. The pain you're avoiding is the entry fee to the life you want. Because your lowest point is the doorway to your highest self. You've got to understand cliff top and rock bottom. You got to understand that. Let me personalize it. I was operating out of both cliff top and rock bottom. Let me tell you what that means. Cliff top means that you're at the highest level of success. You got the cars, you got the clothes, you got the mansions, you got the jewelry, you got the trappings of success all around you. But you feel empty in that moment. And then you've got rock bottom. And rock bottom is just, you just feel like you're at the worst of the worst, where nothing is going the way that you want it to go. But that's actually the best place for you to be. So I'm at cliff top, but I have a rock bottom mindset in that moment. I feel empty. I feel like something is missing. I don't know what I'm supposed to be doing with my life in that moment. I didn't have the awareness. I wasn't this version of myself. So I was the lowest version of me, but I was the highest version of me with respect to what society's perception of me was. In other words, had you seen me at a gas station or at a coffee shop or somewhere like that, you would have looked at me in that moment and been like, man, that dude's got it all together. That's what you would have thought. That's what you would have thought. There'd have been no different way that you would have walked away from that. You seeing Ferraris, you seeing Lamborghinis, you seeing mansions, you're seeing all of these things. But I was empty internally. So I was at rock bottom with respect to my emotional state of being, with respect to self-awareness. I'm at rock bottom, but I'm at cliff top with respect to society's perception of me. So just imagine what I'm going through in that moment when I have everything that you could want to have access to, and you still feel like you're missing something. You're not happy. That's what I'm saying. Why? Because I wasn't in alignment. If you're out of alignment, I don't care what you add to yourself. You're not going to be happy when you're not spiritually aligned. I don't care how many careers and certifications you have. I don't care how many degrees you have. When you're not spiritually aligned, when you're not operating out of the version of you that God created, I don't care what you add to yourself from an external perspective, you will not be happy. I can promise you that. You can go get all the degrees in the world. You can go get 50 PhDs. You still won't be happy because you're out of alignment. Only wholeness brings you happiness. Don't ever forget that. Wholeness brings you happiness. You want whole. If you're not whole right now, it's humanly impossible for you to tell me that you're happy if you're not whole. Wholeness is the byproduct of happiness. That makes sense? Here's the thing. Let me say that one more time. The pain that you're avoiding is the entry fee to the life you want, because your lowest point is the doorway to your highest self. Your lowest point is the doorway to your highest self. That's so important for us to understand. That's number one. Number two, because in the absence of light is how you learn how to become light. In the absence of light is how you learn how to become light. Stop resisting what is trying to pull you into a deeper awareness of yourself. Some of you guys are resisting. Some of you guys are resisting right now. You're resisting. And let me tell you what you're resisting. Let me tell you what's happening to you. There's a version of yourself, not that God created, that you created. And what you don't want to let go of is the version of yourself that you created. You don't want to let go of that person. You're not ready to surrender that person, even though that version of you doesn't bring happiness to your life. And the reason why you are afraid to let go of that version of you, because you don't know what's on the opposite side if you let go. And so you're trying to predict something that you don't have the ability to predict. You don't know what's on the opposite side of uncertainty. You don't know what's there. And because you don't know what's there, you hang on to what's familiar. Because that's what your programmed mind has taught you what to do. You're hanging on to what's familiar to you. You want to let go, but at the same time, when you let go, you don't know. You're ready to surrender, but at the same time, you're still clinging to something that no longer serves you. The current version of you can't take you any further than you already are. Not spiritually, they can't. Right? So what I need you to understand is this. It's not the unknown that you fear. What you fear is the loss of the known. That's what you fear. It's humanly impossible for you to fear the unknown. You can't be afraid of something that you don't know what it is that you're afraid of in that moment. That's not what's happening to you. What you're afraid of is the loss of the known. That's what's keeping you stuck. It's humanly impossible for you to be afraid of the unknown. There's nothing to be afraid of. You don't even know what you're experiencing. There's nothing to be afraid of. What you're afraid of is letting go of who you've been familiar with this entire time. That's where the fear is coming in at. That's what's keeping you stuck at the same time, though. You don't want to let go of that version of you and just surrender. You wake up every single day and you decide who you are. You wake up every single day and you decide who you are. What do you think about that decision? Is that a decision that you're making that's aligned with who you are? Or is that a decision that you're making that's aligned with who God wants you to be? Because those are two different people, two different versions. One is going to drain you. The other is going to give you energy. Again, you wake up every single day and you decide who you are. And sometimes we decide who we're not. Sometimes we pretend. Right? We walk around and we do all of this pretending and all of that, pretending to be this and pretending to be that. No, right now it's about alignment. Everything now is about alignment. Being spiritually aligned, being emotionally aligned, right? Everything is about alignment now. No more the pretending won't get you there anymore. That's what I was doing. I was pretending. Your breakthrough isn't behind your busy schedule. It's behind the decision that you're afraid to make. Sit with that. Your breakthrough isn't behind your busy schedule. It's behind the decision that you're afraid to make. That's powerful. Sit with that. You're hiding behind the busy schedule because it's a distraction. You're hiding behind the relationship because it's a distraction. You're hiding around all of the things that you got going on in the external world because it's a distraction. But the breakthrough isn't going to come behind all of that. It's going to come behind that decision that you're afraid to make. The decision that you know you need to make right now, but you're avoiding for whatever the reason. I tell you guys this all the time. The heaviest things in life are not iron and stone. The heaviest things in life are unmade decisions. You have some decisions that you need to make that would shift everything if you would make them. You're not making them because you fear the unknown. Even though you don't have the ability to fear the unknown, it's just a story that you're telling yourself. What you fear, one more time, is the loss of the known. You're not ready to give up what you know, what you've become familiar with. That's where you're stuck. That's where you're stuck. You have to stop allowing your comfort zone to negotiate the price of your potential. Stop allowing your comfort zone to negotiate the price of your potential. Period. Let me say this. Your breakthrough doesn't just come from self-awareness. It comes from the decision to move differently. Let me say that one more time. Your breakthrough doesn't just come from self-awareness. It comes from the decision to move differently. In this moment right now, you have an opportunity to make a decision to move differently with your life. What's holding you back is your procrastination. What's holding you back is yesterday's version of you. What's holding you back is your fear of the unknown, even though what you're doing is projecting what you're familiar with onto the future, which is producing all of your fear. You have to make a decision in this moment to move differently and to be in alignment with everything that you know God wants you to be. That's a decision that you have to make. You are one decision away from the best decision you have ever made in your life, but you're also one decision away from the worst decision. And the worst decision is to continue to operate out of a version of yourself that can't bring you unconditional love, that can't bring you the happiness like you wanted, that can't bring you the peace and the joy and all of those things. Make the decision for you. Don't make the decision based upon what you think and how it's going to benefit someone else. See, we sometimes in life, we stay stuck in relationships and situations because we don't want to disappoint other people. We don't want to hurt other people. So we stay in things longer than we should have. We stay in relationships past their expiration dates because we're always thinking from the perspective of how it benefits someone else or how it's going to impact someone else. You have to be greedy with yourself now so that you can become generous later. You've got to be greedy now so that you can become generous later. I had to do that. And it's hard, but you got to do it. And don't give me, oh, coach, that's easier said than done. Easier said than done is a story that you tell yourself so that you can hang on to your limitations. I said easier said than done is a story that you tell yourself so that you can hang on to your limitations. It's a story that you tell yourself so that you can hang on to your comfort zone. It's a story that you tell yourself so that you can continue to hang on to who you used to be. And so that you don't have to walk and start the process of becoming what God has created you to be. So we say, oh, coach, that's easier said than done. No, that's the excuse that you apply in that moment so that you can hang on to the comfort zone. You got to cut all of that. The most powerful version of you would never say that because the most powerful version of you understands it's about putting it into work. I got to put it into work on me. There's a version of me that I have yet to meet. There's no way that I'm not going to meet that person. It doesn't matter what's going on around me. There's no way that I don't ever transform into the greatest version of myself. There's no way that I don't live up to the potential that God sees in me. No way, no way, no way. You got to get out of that mindset quick. Again, the heaviest things in life are not iron and stone. The heaviest things in life are the decisions that you haven't made that you need to make right now. And you already know what they are. And you've been on the fence for quite some time trying to figure out how to pull the trigger. You just haven't had the courage to pull the trigger. And the reason why you haven't had the courage to pull the trigger is because you're too busy thinking about how your decision is going to benefit other people or impact other people, not benefit them, but impact them. And that's what's keeping the majority of the people on this live right now stuck. You're too focused on what your decision is going to do for someone else and how it's going to benefit them. No one's going to lose you because they were never yours to begin with, or you were never theirs to begin with. I'm just being for real. Let me ask you the most important question. Not the most important question, but an important question. Super important. Does anyone know what it means when a person feels lost? What does that mean? Let me see how self-aware you are. What does it mean when a person feels lost? What does that mean specifically? In awareness. Feeling lost means that you're ready for something real. In awareness, feeling lost means that you're ready for something real. That there's been a little bit too much pretending going on in your life. A little bit too many illusions going on. Too many falsehoods going on. Right? It's just a little bit too much fakeness, for lack of better phraseology, going on. Feeling lost in awareness means that you need to break free from what no longer serves you. Feeling lost in awareness means that it's your soul's way of saying that things need to change immediately. Let me break that down for you. Let me break that down. Walk with me here, please. If I take you to the middle of the forest and I drop you off, I would completely understand you feeling lost in that moment. You don't know where you are. There's no cell phone towers. You can't get a signal, right? You don't know where you are. There's trees around you and everything like that. You're like, Coach, I don't know where I am. I'm lost. That would make sense to me. But you have people that are just as lost as though they are in the forest, but they're sitting in their home. You know exactly where you are. But spiritually, you're lost. Emotionally, you're lost. Energetically, you're not aligned with the divine in you. So you're just as lost as the person that's out in the middle of the forest somewhere. Just as lost. And you're trying to find your way the same way that that person in the forest would. You've been searching and searching and searching and searching, and you're trying to find your way. The problem is that you're not physically lost. You're sitting in your living room or in your bedroom or at the office right now. But mentally, spiritually, and emotionally, energetically, you are. That's the problem. Most people that you encounter are lost. Not lost, they don't know where they're standing. Lost, they don't know what they are. They're disconnected from what they are. Does that make sense? And that's a lot, and that's okay. That's okay, right? I was lost. No one might tell you my address, but I was lost. Anytime that you're not connected to your divine essence, you are lost. Doesn't mean you're a bad person. Doesn't mean something's wrong with you. No, you're just disconnected in that moment. You're disconnected from your power. You're disconnected from source energy. You're disconnected from what you are. You've been chasing all of these material things and trying to add things to yourself to make you feel whole and to make you feel complete. And you're running out of things to add to yourself to make you feel whole and make you feel complete. And yes, those things give you temporary joy. And yes, they'll give you temporary excitement. But then the feeling goes away from the things that you continue to add to your life. Why? Because you're lost. And you're trying to purchase your way and shop your way and relationship your way to wholeness. And it doesn't work that way. Does that make sense? That's okay. That's okay. Only through awareness. Only through awareness. You just have to, that's why I said you guys have to, you just have to continue to do the inner work. You got to continue to do the work. You got to continue to do the work. It's about you. Work on yourself the same way you would a business. Work on yourself the same way you do on a home that you're trying to refurbish or whatever the case may be. Work on yourself. Do the work on you. I put in the work. Repetition is the mother of mastery. I spend hours a day. You're not going to get there working on yourself 30 minutes a day. You're not going to get there working on yourself occasionally. You're not going to get there when you can find the time. It's not going to work for you that way. You have to become obsessed with becoming the greatest version of yourself and understand that no matter what you add to your life, it will not make you feel whole. Happiness won't come from some external perspective. Love is not going to come from some external perspective. Joy and peace won't come from some external perspective. It's going to come from you. Unconditional love is the greatest gift that you will ever give yourself. Ever, 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 ever. Better than a million relationships, better than a million houses, better than a million cars, better than everything. Because in that moment, you'll understand that I am already complete. I'm not missing anything. I don't need anything. Nothing. I'm fine. I've got everything I need. There's a version of yourself that has everything they need. And only you can unlock that version of you by watering yourself with the self-awareness. You got to water you, man. You're not watering you. You watering other people. Watering the job. See, we'll go and spend 8 to 10 hours a day working on the job, but you will spend 30 minutes working on yourself. Make that make sense for me. Just make it make sense for me. I ain't asking you to change anything. We'll go and spend 8 hours working at somebody else's business or come home and spend 30 minutes working on ourselves. Maybe. But then you'll binge watch Netflix for 4 hours. Just make it make sense. Make it make sense. That's the problem. Again, feeling lost in awareness is your soul's way of saying that things need to change immediately. Feeling lost in awareness is your soul's way of saying, not my way of saying, not your neighbor's way of saying. It's your soul's way of saying that things need to change immediately. There's some things that are happening in your life and I don't know what they are and I don't pretend to know. But you know, there's some things happening in your life right now that need to change immediately. Your daily routines, your daily habits, all of these things that you have going on, whatever your standards are, aren't equating to the life that you want. It's time for things to change. And if nothing changes, then nothing changes. You add something better. To make your today better, you got to add something new to it. To make your tomorrow better, you got to add something new to you and continue to add something new to you. Every time I add something new to me, I change, I transform somehow, some way. No, that's a beautiful thing. You're saying that you don't know. No. She said, I don't know what I want. That's a beautiful thing. That's a beautiful thing. Somebody tell me why that's a beautiful thing. Make your goal to become the most powerful version of you. Make your goal to become the happiest version of you. Make your goal to become the most confident version of you. And when you reach that place, you'll have a different perspective in that moment, and then you'll know what move you need to make. But if you don't even get there, you can't get anywhere, because all of those things you're in possession of right now, but you're disconnected from them energetically. They're operating on a different frequency than the frequency that you're operating out of right now, based upon certain thoughts that you're entertaining, based upon you living out of lower minds, based upon you living out of your programming and conditioning and your ego personality. So right now in this moment, make my goal. Coach, my goal is to become the most confident version of me. My goal is to become the strongest version of me. My goal is to become a reflection of unconditional love, because if I can't even give myself what I'm already in possession of, man, I'm in trouble. You don't have to go anywhere to give yourself those things. You've got to set some things down, which means that I have to be. Happiness means that everything in your life is true, accurate, and real. So you got to understand, happiness is a bad boy. He doesn't like to share his time or space with anything else. Every single thing in your life, in order for happiness to be your roommate, every single thing in your life has to be true, accurate, and real. There can be no falsehoods. There can be no illusions. There can be no stories that you've created about this person that you've added to your life that doesn't align with the reality of who they are. No more storytelling. Everything in your life has to be true, accurate, and real, and happiness will be your roommate forever. But the moment that you allow your illusions to dominate the moment, happiness is gone. The moment that you start creating stories about people's potential, happiness is gone. The moment that you shrink in the moment and you don't speak your truth because you're trying to hang on to some person, happiness is like, I'm out. You got time for this? You don't even love yourself. That's what, if happiness could speak, that's what it would tell you. In order for happiness to be in your life, everything has to be true, accurate, and real. And if happiness is not in your life right now, it's because you got some falsehoods in your life. It's because you're living out of some illusion, some fantasy about some life that you want with some person that's not in alignment with who they really are. And you saw the red flags and you see the red flags. And the version of yourself that we need to remove is the version of yourself that saw the red flags and overlooked the red flag. That's who we need to remove. Because every red flag that you ignore will be the very red flag that'll cause the relationship to end. All of them. Every red flag that you see, you were looking at your future right then. You just didn't know that that was what was happening to you. God was showing you your future through the red flag. You saw it, but you ignored it. Why? Because your desire was stronger. The experience that you wanted to have with this person was stronger than the red flag that you saw in that moment. So you bypassed the red flag. You overlooked the red flag and you started paying closer attention to potential. Potential became the third party in the relationship. So there was you, the person, and potential all in the relationship at the same time. I'm telling you. There are more people in a relationship with potential than they are with the person that they think is their partner. You dating potential. You ain't even dating the person. You're dating the version of them that only exists in your mind, not in reality. If the person can see the version of themselves that you created in your mind, they'd be like, damn, I want to be that person too. And you're projecting that onto the person. That's not even who they are. It's only who they pretend to be. They created a version of themselves that they pretended to be in the beginning, and you created a story around that. And then the person started to slowly come back down to earth and slowly start to be the person that they really are. But you have already created the story based on the trailer that they gave you in the beginning of the movie. You bought the trailer, not the movie. The movie is who the person really is. The trailer was just the highlight reel. So they gave you the highlight reel. You created a story around that, and that story lives in your mind. And every time you look at that person, you project the story onto them. That's how we see people through their potential and not through the reality of who they really are. We buy trailers. We don't buy movies. That's the problem. Because we don't give ourselves enough time to see the movie, because we're always operating out of our desires. We're always operating out of need. We're always operating out of I'm lonely and I'm bored and all of those things. And we're so quick to throw people into our lives, even though people are mistake-making machines. That's what we do. And when you're operating out of lower minds, what a person is normally loyal to is they're loyal to the opportunity that's in front of them at that time, not to you. When that person saw you, there was something that they needed in that moment, and they thought that you could fill that need, whether that was pleasure, whether that was, I don't have to be bored anymore. I want to experience this person. I want to take this person and put them in some cage, like there's some bird or something, so that I can look at this person and keep them from anyone else being able to have access to them. I'm telling you, people, and you got to start understanding people and how people are really looking at you. Some people are loyal to you, and some people are loyal to their need of you, and you won't know the difference in that moment.
If you made it this far, scan the code and join our life-changing community. Your one mindset shift away from the best decision of your life.